Hey everyone, it's Wednesday morning, January 21st, and welcome back to Capital Markets Quickie. I'm your host, Endrit Sella, here to break down yesterday's market action in just 2 minutes. Quick note before we dive in. Today's episode is brought to you by AMF Capital Asset Management Frankfurt. Learn more about our funds and strategies at amf-capital.de. Alright, let's get started. U.S. stocks got absolutely clobbered yesterday in what turned out to be Wall Street's worst session since October. Markets slipped right back into those tariff-driven sell-offs we last saw in the spring, after President Trump reignited trade war tensions with Europe over his renewed push to take control of Greenland. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 1.8%, or more than 800 points. The Standard & Poor's 500 fell roughly 2%, while the Nasdaq slid more than 2.4% as investors rushed out of riskier assets. With that move, year-to-date gains for both the Nasdaq and the Standard & Poor's 500 were completely wiped out. Now, investors spent the day reassessing the risk of a full-blown US and EU trade war just as earnings season is getting started. Bond markets didn't help either, adding another layer of stress to an already nervous market. Over the weekend, President Trump said 8 NATO countries could face extra import duties of 10% unless the United States reaches a deal to purchase Greenland from Denmark. Earlier this week, he doubled down on that stance, even as the European Union discussed retaliatory tariffs worth about $108 billion. The bloc also floated using its so-called anti-coercion instrument, a move that experts say could put roughly $8 trillion of U.S. assets at risk. Adding fuel to the fire, President Trump also threatened to slap a 200% tariff on French wine after France's president rejected his invitation to join what he called a Board of Peace. When asked yesterday how far he's willing to go to acquire Greenland, his answer was simply, "You'll find out." Meanwhile, Treasury yields jumped to their highest level in 4 months, partly driven by a sell-off in Japanese government bonds. The US dollar slipped to a 2-week low as the so-called Sell America trade made a comeback, while safe haven demand pushed gold and silver to fresh record highs. Big tech stocks led the decline, with Nvidia and Broadcom sliding as investors rotated out of artificial intelligence-linked names amid growing bubble concerns. Looking ahead, attention is shifting to the World Economic Forum in Davos, where President Trump is expected to meet with other world leaders over the Greenland dispute. He's scheduled to deliver his keynote address today. All right, that wraps up today's Capital Markets Quickie. Join me again tomorrow morning for more market updates. See you then.